record. All right. Great to have you all here. Looks like Scott is starting to join, and I'm going to share my screen. Someone else is joining. All right. I'm going to share my screen, and I will be reading from the text. And then after I read this section, there will be time for us to discuss. Course in Miracles, chapter 26, section 3 is where we're on today, the borderland. Complexity is not of God. How could it be when all he knows is one? He knows of one creation, one reality, one truth, and but one Son. Nothing conflicts with oneness. How then could there be complexity in him? What is there to decide? For it is conflict that makes choice possible. The truth is simple. It is one without an opposite. And how could strife enter in its simple presence and bring complexity where oneness is? The truth makes no decisions, for there is nothing to decide between. And only if there were, could choosing be a necessary step in the advance toward oneness. What is everything leaves no room for nothing else. Yet, is this magnitude beyond the scope of this curriculum? Nor is it necessary we dwell on anything that cannot be immediately grasped. There is a borderland of thought that stands between this world and heaven. It is not a place, and when you reach it, it is apart from time. Here is the meeting place where thoughts are brought together, where conflicting values meet, and all illusions are laid down beside the truth, where they are judged to be untrue. This borderland is just beyond the gate of heaven. Here is every thought made pure and wholly simple. Here is sin denied, and everything that is received instead. This is the journey's end. We've referred to it as the real world. And yet there is a contradiction here in that the words imply a limited reality, a partial truth, a segment of the universe made true. This is because knowledge makes no attack upon perception. They're brought together, and only one continues past the gate where oneness is. Salvation is a borderland where place and time and choice have meaning still. And yet it can be seen that they are temporary, out of place, and every choice has been already made. Nothing the Son of God believes can be destroyed, but what is truth to him must be brought to the last comparison that he will ever make, the last evaluation that will be possible, the final judgment upon this world. It is the judgment of the truth upon illusion, of knowledge on perception. It has no meaning and does not exist. This is not your decision. It is but a simple statement of a simple fact. But in this world, there are no simple facts, because what is the same and what is different remain unclear. The one essential thing to make a choice at all is this distinction. And herein lies the difference between the worlds. In this one, choice is made impossible. In the real world, is choosing simplified. Salvation stops just short of heaven, for only perception needs salvation. Heaven was never lost, and so cannot be saved. Yet, who can make a choice between the wish for heaven and the wish for hell, unless he recognizes they are not the same? This difference is the learning goal this course has set. It will not go beyond this aim. Its only purpose is to teach what is the same and what is different, leaving room to make the choice, the only choice that can be made. There is no basis for a choice in this complex and over-complicated world, for no one understands what is the same and seems to choose where no choice really is. The real world is the area of choice made real, not in the outcome, but in the perception of alternatives for choice. That there is choice is an illusion. Yet within this one lies the undoing of every illusion, not accepting this. Is not this like your special function where the separation is undone by change of purpose in what once was specialness and now is union? All illusions are but one, and in the recognition this is so, lies the ability to give up all attempts to choose between them and to make them different. How simple is the choice between two things so clearly unalike? There is no conflict here. No sacrifice is possible in the relinquishment of an illusion recognized as such. Where all reality has been withdrawn from what was never true, can it be hard to give it up and choose what must be true? Oh, hi, Carol. Welcoming Carol and Scott. Great to see you, Scott, and welcoming Marie. So we just read chapter 26, section 3, the borderland. We'll open it up for discussions if anybody wants to share what's on their mind with this.
I like the line, it has no meaning and it does not exist. I don't have the book in front of me, but that goes back to the very first lessons. Nothing I see means anything. And it goes back to the introduction. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Yeah.
It's such a bold statement, but it's right there.
Yeah.
Not backing down from it.
Yeah. I was, it reminds me of something that happened the other day. So, I get these Facebook friend requests and I go through and look and make sure they're a real person and they're, they're not a fake person pretending to be somebody else. And, I go through and I'm like, okay, accept, accept, accept. And then I get a message from one of the people that had just reached out to me and she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were a lesbian because of your Facebook profile, because during Pride Month, I usually do all the rainbows and, say love is love and blah, 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 because I'm a supportive person of all people, right? And of course I have tons of friends, LGBTQ plus. But I said to her in my response, I was like, it's so interesting. In this world, we just so much want to separate ourselves and to say that we're different in so many ways. I said, but the truth is we're all one. So, I just was having that epiphany in that moment of what does that even mean? Like sexual preference makes me different, or is it, it just kind of dawned on me like it's interesting how we all want to have our own special function and our own specialness in whatever it is we are, right? And it's interesting that even that like would separate instead of bring together the labeling of what it is we are. And I'm not taking away from rights and humanity and all that. I'm not saying anything about that because I know there's struggles in all areas, but it's just interesting to me because I was like, oh, well, I don't want to feel like we can't be friends. Like, I want to be your friend. I still want to be a part of the one mind of God with all of my brothers and all of my sisters. So just kind of reminded me of, that the specialness, right? And how we give that up to become one.
Yep.
But we're not really giving up anything. Looks like Marie has a question. Go ahead, Marie. I think you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Oh, thank you. I'm new to the course, so forgive my ignorance. It says the simple on line 8. It says the truth is simple. It is one, without opposite. And how could strife enter in its simple presence and bring complexity where oneness is. Well, it did. That's what I'm confused about. Is it saying that it's impossible to have opposite because oneness never has opposite, but yet the tiny mad idea that everybody believed in is the opposite? So that, and we're one, and we're the ones that came up with that. And so that feels like, well, what does it mean one can't have opposite, because we are the one and we chose the opposite, which was the tiny mad idea. And it says the truth makes no decisions. Well, we did make a decision. We were in truth, in our oneness, and we made the decision to create this illusion of separateness. So it contradicts, and to my mind, it's contradicting and confusing to a newbie like me. Thank you.
No, and you're right, Marie. It does talk a lot about contradictions in certain aspects. I can share that when I am reading the course, a lot of times it's coming from a place of the ego, right? The ego made the decision to separate. The ego made the decision to not be part of the one mind of God. So yes, within this world of illusions, which only exists to the ego, we're still asleep. You know, the course says we're sleeping, right? So in our sleeping mind, the ego came into being somehow with the tiny mad idea of, oh, I want to see what it feels like to be separate, and made this illusion of us being separate. And that's how I read into that. And then once we are at that place of accepting that we are one and aligning with the one mind that we are in truth, then we start making decisions more in unity with that one mind. And anybody else is free to share whatever else is coming up for them.
Yes, I'll share something. In fact, it happened to New Year's Eve, sitting at a table with some new people and some people that I knew, and there was a gentleman sitting next to me, and this woman comes in, and it looks like they know each other. I didn't know either one of them that well. I mean, I had just met one of them, and I turned and I asked the gentleman next to me, "Is this your significant other?" And he turned to me and goes, "No, my significant other is sitting at home moping. He is not coming." Okay. So right then and there, that's the separation, right? I immediately just figured, okay, these two are together. And because I was going to offer my seat to her so she could sit next to him. And so this is my mind already spinning a story.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
to which, I wasn't in shock, but I was like, oh man, here it goes again. It's like, wow, what do I say now? Right. So I just said, oh, I just was going to offer my seat to her, because I thought you guys were together, but
Yeah.
that whole spinning of the story started before, boom, it just comes out
Yeah.
instinct, because right away you separate, you assume a lot of stuff in separation so quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like I couldn't just have accepted the fact that, this random person came in and whatever, right? No, I immediately made the separation, and then he made the separation as well to let me know. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps. I don't know.
Yeah, it's both helpful. Thank you. I also had a dream last night that this crazy bug was on my ceiling and was flying down to my face. And it really scared me horrifically. And then I imagined that we were trying to get bees out of the house up in the attic, and it was a huge bee swarm that flew down past us, and my mom's like, get down, get down. And I fell to the ground, and the whole bee swarm like flew over me. It was massive. There was tens of thousands of them. And I'm like, I'm so scared, Mom. And I literally woke up totally disoriented. I honestly thought that that was real. I thought that those bugs above me, because they looked real, like real bees, and I was on the porch, and it just I was like, "Wow, dreams can feel so real." And it took me a while to be like, "Oh, that was just a dream. I'm in my bed. Everything's fine. There's no bees, there's no bugs." So, that helps me to believe in the Course a little bit more when I have dreams that feel so realistic like that, you know?
Yeah. And so you can imagine the one mind that's dreaming all this and seeing all of us differently on the screen right now. We all have different faces and different homes. It's the one mind dreaming that we're separated. And it feels so real.
And sure, we reinforce that realness to truth by spinning the stories that we spin around it.
Sure. Sure. But anytime we connect with our brothers and see the Christ in them, that's when we bring it back to the at one-ment, right? When, especially if we're in conflict, right? Especially if we feel any kind of conflict with our brother, when we can stop and see our oneness and know our oneness, that's when we heal the separation.
There are no silos in heaven.
All right, any other thoughts before we continue? All right, let's keep going. We are on to where sin has left. Forgiveness is this world's equivalent of heaven's justice. It translates the world of sin into a simple world where justice can be reflected from beyond the gate behind which total lack of limits lies. Nothing is boundless. Love could need forgiveness. Nothing in boundless love could need forgiveness. And what is charity within the world gives way to simple justice, past the gate that opens into heaven. No one forgives unless he has believed in sin and still believes that he has much to be forgiven. Forgiveness thus becomes the means by which he learns he has done nothing to forgive. Forgiveness always rests upon the one who offers it until he sees himself as needing it no more. And thus is he returned to his real function of creating, which his forgiveness offers him again. Forgiveness turns the world of sin into a world of glory, wonderful to see. Each flower shines in light, and every bird sings of the joy of heaven. There is no sadness and there is no parting here, for everything is totally forgiven. And what has been forgiven must join, for nothing stands between to keep them separate and apart. The sinless must perceive that they are one, for nothing stands between to push the other off. And in the space that sin left vacant, do they join as one, in gladness, recognizing what is part of them has not been kept apart and separate. The holy place on which you stand is but the space that sin has left. And here you see the face of Christ arising in its place. Who could behold the face of Christ and not recall his Father as he really is? Who could fear love and stand upon the ground where sin has left a place for heaven's altar to rise and tower far above the world and reach beyond the universe to touch the heart of all creation? What is heaven but a song of gratitude and love and praise by everything created to the source of its creation? The holiest of altars is set where once sin was believed to be. And here does every light of heaven come to be rekindled and increased in joy. For here is what was lost restored to them, and all their radiance made whole again. Forgiveness brings no little miracles to lay before the gate of heaven. Here the Son of God himself comes to receive each gift that brings him nearer to his home. Not one is lost, and none is cherished more than any other. Each reminds him of his Father's love as surely as the rest. And each one teaches him that what he feared, he loves the most. But what but a miracle could change his mind so that he understands that love cannot be feared? What other miracle is there but this? And what else need there be to make the space between you disappear? Where sin once was perceived will rise a world that will become an altar to the truth, and you will join the lights of heaven there and sing their song of gratitude and praise. And as they come to you to be complete, so will you go with them. For no one hears the song of heaven and remains without a voice that adds its power to the song and makes it sweeter still. And each one joins the singing at the altar that was raised within the tiny spot that sin proclaimed to be its own. And what was tiny then has soared into a magnitude of song in which the universe has joined with but a single voice. This tiny spot of sin that stands between you and your brother still is holding back the happy opening of heaven's gate. How little is the hindrance that withholds the wealth of heaven from you, and how great will be the joy in heaven when you join the mighty chorus to the love of God.
Wow, that seemed like a poem.
It does, doesn't it? Very poetic.
The book at times seems to rhyme. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
There's a rhythm to it.
there is for sure. But think about that. Like anytime you think you need to forgive someone because someone has done something to you, that's that tiny spot of sin.
Nobody's ever done anything to you, really.
Yeah. And because you think someone has done something to you, you're not seeing them as the Christ. You're not seeing them as your savior. You're seeing them as a separated being, which is just keeping the illusion stronger.
That's the way the ego makes this illusion stronger.
Right.
Make it seem like it's true.
Right. And think about it, like when you think, why would you feel the need to forgive someone? Well, because they've done something wrong to you, right? They've done something wrong to you or someone you love, therefore, they need forgiveness. Well, how could they do something wrong to you if you truly know yourself as a son of God and you truly embrace the grandeur of God within you and you know yourself as complete and holy and in need of nothing? Right? Because if you had
In the
that,
same way.
what's that?
You see them the same way. If
Right,
one, then they're you. So
right. And you're in need of nothing. So how could you lose something? How could they have taken something from you? How could they have hurt you in any way?
Yeah, I was having a lot of trouble getting over an ex-girlfriend, and I just practiced like forgiveness with her exercises, and it's helped me so much. And it it hasn't like completely healed it, but it has helped it a lot to like let go and get over that situation.
Oh, yeah, relationships can sometimes be our greatest teachers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the course does say that it's okay to practice forgiveness.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's not like, not to do it. It doesn't say not to do it. It just kind of gives you the spin on it or the truth about it. And that's sometimes a very difficult concept to even comprehend. I mean, it's taken me a while to see what that means or what that is saying. Because I still fall into it. I mean, I just went through an incident like that recently where this person started to apologize, and my first instinct was to say, well, there's no need apology needed, but no, instead I went with it and said apology accepted. And then I went into a narrative that, whatever I wanted to say it in a way that is understood. Because I also don't want them to think that I'm not accepting their apology. I mean, this is such a fine balancing act sometimes for me in terms of what I've learned, what I know, what I don't know, what I still question. And sometimes it's just best to go silent. Don't say nothing.
And I think too, the lessons help, right? Because I mean, we're on what, lesson 5 now, if you're started in the beginning of the year. And
Yeah.
it's like, it doesn't mean what I think it means, right? Let's go back to it. I'm gonna just look it up real quick. So I just read it this morning. I just can't read.
Lesson 6, right? Today's the 6th.
Oh yeah, today is the 6th. You're right. And it is, I am upset because I see something that is not there,
Mhm.
right? I'm angry at blank because I see something that is not there. I am worried about blank because I see something that is not there. There are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. Yeah. And it's also, the course also says we don't have to know the answers. We don't have to try to figure it out. We just need to let it go. We need to let it go, give it to the Holy Spirit, and let the Holy Spirit judge, right? Because we can't judge anything. We don't know all there is to know, past, present, and future. We only know what's going on right now, presently, currently.
Yeah, I think it's so amazing about the course is like he's really like in a different reality. You know, he's like one with God and all he sees is like light and unity. And then he's coming down to like a dualistic world and trying to show us like another dimension. Like what I see is not really there is like he's like you know, talking to us and being like fear is not really real. It's you're getting caught up with stuff that's not actually true. And I don't know, it's just amazing to have like a teacher like that to show you how to live in like a different reality, you know, higher reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and according to the book, that is the only reality that exists.
Yeah, the only reality. Right. Right.
We stop spinning our own stories, then we have a clearer view and capacity to hear that reality. So then we become more aware of that we're in the heaven song of gratitude for everything.
Yeah. And when you change your mind, right, the things you see start changing.
Yeah.
It can leave you speechless, for sure.
All right. Any other shares before we continue? All right, let's keep going. The little hindrance. A little hindrance can seem large indeed to those who do not understand that miracles are all the same. Yet teaching that is what this course is for. This is its only purpose. For only that is all there is to learn. And you can learn it in many different ways. All learning is a help or hindrance to the gate of heaven. Nothing in between is possible. There are 2 teachers only who point in different ways, and you will go along the way your chosen teacher leads. There are but 2 directions you can take, while time remains and choice is meaningful. For never will another road be made except the way to heaven. You but choose whether to go toward heaven or away to nowhere. There's nothing else to choose. Nothing is ever lost but time, which in the end is meaningless. for it is but a little hindrance to eternity, quite meaningless to the real teacher of the world. Yet since you do believe in it, why should you waste it going nowhere when it can be used to reach a goal as high as learning can achieve? Think not the way to heaven's gate is difficult at all. Nothing you undertake with certain purpose and high resolve and happy confidence, holding your brother's hand and keeping step to heaven's song, is difficult to do. But it is hard indeed to wander off, alone and miserable, down a road that leads to nothing and that has no purpose. God gave his teacher to replace the one you made, not to conflict with it. And what he would replace has been replaced. Time lasted but an instant in your mind, with no effect upon eternity. And so is all time past, and everything exactly as it was before the way to nothingness was made. The tiny tick of time in which the first mistake was made, and all of them within that one mistake, held also the correction for that one, and all of them that came within the first. And in that tiny instant, time was gone. For that was all it ever was. What God gave an answer to is answered and is gone. To you, who still believe you live in time and know not it is gone, the Holy Spirit still guides you through the infinitely small and senseless maze you still perceive in time, though it has long since gone. You think you live in what is past. Each thing you look upon you saw but for an instant, long ago, before its unreality gave way to truth. Not one illusion still remains unanswered in your mind. Uncertainty was brought to certainty so long ago that it is hard indeed to hold it in your heart, as if it were before you still. The tiny instant you would keep and make eternal, passed away in heaven too soon for anything to notice it had come. What disappeared too quickly to affect the simple knowledge of the Son of God can hardly still be there for you to choose to be your teacher. Only in the past, an ancient past, too short to make a world in answer to creation, did this world appear to rise. So very long ago for such a tiny interval of time that not one note in heaven's song was missed. Yet in each unforgiving act or thought, in every judgment and in all belief in sin, is that one instant still called back, as if it could be made again in time. You keep an ancient memory before your eyes, and he who lives in memories alone is unaware of where he is. Forgiveness is the great release from time. It is the key to learning that the past is over. Madness speaks no more. There is no other teacher and no other way. For what has been undone no longer is. And who can stand upon a distant shore and dream himself across an ocean to a place and time that have long since gone by? How real a hindrance can this dream be to where he really is? For this is fact and does not change whatever dreams he has. Yet can he still imagine he is elsewhere and in another time? In the extreme, he can delude himself that this is true and pass from mere imagining into belief and into madness, quite convinced that where he would prefer to be, he is. Is this a hindrance to the place whereon he stands? Is any echo from the past that he may hear a fact? And what is there to hear where he is now? How much can his own illusions about time and place affect a change in where he really is? The unforgiven is a voice that calls from out a past forever gone by. And everything that points to it as real is but a wish that what is gone could be made real again and seen as here and now, in place of what is really now and here. Is this a hindrance to the truth? The past is gone and cannot be returned to you? And do you want that fearful instant kept when heaven seemed to disappear and God was feared and made a symbol of your hate? Forget the time of terror that has been so long ago corrected and undone. Can sin withstand the will of God? Can it be up to you to see the past and put it in the present? You cannot go back, and everything that points the way in the direction of the past, but sets you on a mission whose accomplishment can only be unreal. Such is the justice your all-loving Father has ensured must come to you. And from your own unfairness to yourself has He protected you. You cannot lose your way because there is no way but His, and nowhere you can go except to Him. Would God allow His Son to lose his way along a road long since a memory of time gone by? This course will teach you only what is now, a dreadful instant in a distant past, now perfectly corrected, is of no concern nor value. Let the dead and gone be peacefully forgotten. Resurrection has come to take its place, and now you are part of resurrection, not of death. No past illusions have the power to keep you in a place of death. A vault God's Son entered an instant to be instantly restored unto His Father's perfect love. And how can He be kept in chains long since removed and gone forever from His mind? The Son whom God created is as free as God created him. He was reborn the instant that He chose to die instead of live. And will you not forgive Him now because He made an error in the past that God remembers not and is not there? Now you are shifting back and forth between the past and present. Sometimes the past seems real, as if it were the present. Voices from the past are heard and then are doubted. You're like the one who still hallucinates, but lacks conviction in what he perceives. This is the borderland between the worlds, the bridge between the past and the present. Here the shadow of the past remains, but still a present light is dimly recognized. Once it is seen, this light can never be forgotten. It must draw you from the past into the present, where you really are. The shadow voices do not change the laws of time, nor of eternity. They come from what is past and gone, and hinder not the true existence of the here and now. The real world is the second part of the hallucination. Time and death are real and have existence that can be perceived. This terrible illusion was denied in but the time it took for God to give His answer to illusion for all time and every circumstance. And then it was no more to be experienced as there. Each day and every minute in each day and every instant that each minute holds, you but relive the single instant when the time of terror took the place of love. And so you die each day to live again until you cross the gap between the past and present, which is not a gap at all. Such is each life, a seeming interval from birth to death and on to life again, a repetition of an instant gone by long ago that cannot be relived. And all of time is but the mad belief that what is over is still here and now. Forgive the past and let it go, for it is gone. You stand no longer on the ground that lies between the worlds. You have gone on and reached the world that lies at heaven's gate. There is no hindrance to the will of God, nor any need that you repeat again a journey that was over long ago. Look gently on your brother and behold the world in which perception of your hate has been transformed into a world of love. Well, that's a little mind blowing. We just keep reliving it over and over and over and over again because we refuse to forgive our brother. We still want to hold him accountable for the wrong things we think he did to us. And that's it. That's the only choice. The choice to see our brother as the Christ mind, or the choice to see our brother as separate. And once we make the choice that we are one and we truly see the Christ in all of our brothers, then we don't keep reliving the illusion in that tiny mad moment where we thought we were separate. Easy, but not simple. Could be simple.
Isn't it valid to be upset by disturbing things? Like, even if I'm watching a movie where someone's killing somebody or doing a gang rape or a beating, or tormenting an animal, even though it's on TV, I still find it highly upsetting and get some anger or depression or real emotions around that. And sometimes I feel like I'm bypassing those emotions, like, oh, that's just fake and phony. It's just a movie. So, you know, just look at the love of God that this person, that even though you're witnessing them beating or raping or molesting or harming something innocent, it's just a fake in your imagination dream. Just look at the love that's in that person's heart beyond the darkness that you're seeing. So it feels almost like it's bypassing or giving them an excuse, like, oh, you're just fake phony in my dream, so you can do those things because it's not real. It's like, in my dreams it's feeling pretty real, and I'm pretty having some strong emotions around it that don't want to be bypassed and ignored. And does that make sense? But again, I'm very new to the course, so maybe you guys have all worked through all of this, but I haven't. I'm
What?
confused by it.
Sure, sure. So the first thing I would say, Marie, is um, in doing the work of A Course in Miracles, and if you are committed to the lessons, I would say, I would maybe ask yourself, why am I watching movies that have violence and contain these horrific things, right? Because we are in control within the dream of what we surround ourselves with, right? So we can choose to optimize our environment. And in optimizing our environment, we could, instead of watching, horrific movies, we could maybe be watching movies about expanding our consciousness. And we could maybe have that choice of being of service. And maybe we could have that choice of petting our cats or our dog and nurturing and growing love instead of watching the horrific movie. I'm not saying there's something wrong with watching it. I'm saying you have a choice, and that's free will, and we all have it. But I would just say the next time you choose to put yourself in a situation where you're feeling anger or fear or any type of anguish, just remember you have a choice, right? And at this moment, you can choose to not align with fear, and instead you can choose to align with love. And it's kind of like going to the gym and working out, right? At any time you have a choice to eat the donut or go for a walk, right? And the more times you choose to go for a walk, the healthier your body's going to be. And similarly, the more times you choose to optimize your environment by choosing love, the healthier your mind is going to be, because now you're feeding your mind something that's going to support the healing of your mind and body. It's going to support the balance. It's going to bring you into something that's called homeostasis, which is where the body naturally heals itself and the mind naturally heals itself. Anytime you put yourself into fear on purpose, you're increasing cortisone, you're doing all kinds of things that is going to just bring you into that fear state even more, right? So just understand, you've got a lot of choices of where you want to put your mind. during the day, and that's free will. And like I said before, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying you just might want to notice, right? And go ahead, Scott. Looks like you've got something you'd like to add.
Yeah. I was just thinking as she was asking that question, the only way I would respond to that question is like, according to the Course, the only thing that exists is love or a call for love. So even though people are doing like messed up things and they're like not in the right mind, what they're doing in a deeper way, like according to the Course, is they're really asking for love and acceptance, and they just don't know how to get it. They're like acting out like children. You know, when children want attention, they'll like do bad stuff, or they like a girl, they'll like pull her hair and stuff. So it's really, the Course is going in like a deeper aspect of like what a person really wants and needs, and kind of nullifying other behaviors once you get that. So that's kind of how I would see that question.
Yes, great answer.
There's a paragraph in chapter 18, The Passing of the Dream, chapter 4, where it says, I'll just read the line because I found it amusing, but very on point. Dreams are perceptual temper tantrums in which you literally scream, I want this dust. I myself sometimes catch myself watching some of these horrific shows. And sometimes it gets so disturbing that I say to myself, why are you watching this? Change that channel. You literally, I mean, I'm drawn to it must be because I want to have that experience. Hello. And if you don't want to have it, don't do it. I mean, this is a personal thing that I definitely have come to terms or beginning to see it for myself. I do. I watch these horrific shows, you know, murder mysteries, all this crazy stuff that goes on, right? But that line that I just read to you, I should print it and keep it in front of me everywhere.
Yes,
Great.
thank you. I can understand about how we have control over the movies that we watch. That makes sense. And I am noticing that I'm not wanting to watch a lot of like the CSI or the murder mysteries or whatever. But there but sometimes like I work at a vet clinic and I worked there over the New Year holiday, and one of the things that people like to do during the 4th of July and New Year's when fireworks is involved is they like to put fireworks inside of animals' privates or their mouths, and they tape the firework in their mouth, and then they light it and it explodes and it usually does not kill the animal. And so we had 2 animals come in that had explosive fireworks taped in their mouth. And that, I don't feel like that was by choice. I wasn't feeling like, maybe it was by choice, the fact that I want to help animals and that I'm at the vet clinic trying to help animals. And so I'm going to be expecting trauma situations coming in. But I still felt really angry that somebody finds that a pleasant activity every 4th of July and every New Year. Cats and dogs get explosives in them, and people think it's funny and fun, and it's just horrifically traumatic. And I don't want to turn away from the animals and say I'm not going to help you because I don't want to be around trauma and bad things. But at the same time, I get full of rage at the people that are doing it. And I feel like I need to get a little bit more deeper, like what Scott's was sharing around looking past their behaviors. Clearly, they don't know who they are in God, and they're acting out of their own deep fear, trying to grasp for love, if I understood Scott right. And maybe, see, I have a part that doesn't want to give them the benefit of the doubt or doesn't want to excuse them. But yeah, I have a lot of work to do. Clearly, I have a lot of work to do because my anger feels justified. Yeah. So, and I have, my ego doesn't want to give love to that person. It wants to kick him in the nuts, So.
Yeah. And it's all part of the journey, right? It's all part of the journey. And maybe hypothetically, maybe someday you'll meet someone and have a conversation with them and they'll talk to you about their early domestication process and how they were abused and how this happened and that happened. And maybe you'll also find out that, once they did something horrific to an animal and maybe that was their way of reliving the trauma that they experienced. And I'm not saying that it's right, but hurt people, right? And hurt people also hurt animals. And it's all part of the healing process and understanding, as Scott had said before, all attack is merely a cry for love, right? So people who would do such a heinous thing really don't have that ability to feel that love and joy within their heart. So again, yes, it makes you angry that they could do that, but at the same time, it's important, as if you're doing the coursework, to understand that hurt people, and a lot of people who are abusers of children and people and animals, they have limited capacity to love for various reasons.
And the very fact that you're placed in that particular situation, I would think, may speak volumes to you itself as to your reaction. So if your reaction is hate for them, vengeance, then in a sense you're perpetuating that. So think about those things, that you're being placed in that situation to heal this animal. So you're doing a good thing, right? And that's the one thing that I think needs to be focused on. Sure, you're gonna feel anger for that. Heck yeah. You want to put, a firecracker to his balls and see how he likes that shit. But does that serve a purpose? So and you're being placed there definitely for a reason. So you might want to think about that.
And as you're honest with yourself and how you feel, you can operate in that way where you can give the love that you would like to see. And that love is healing. That does, you don't have feelings for what is going on, that you're moving, as others said, through that in a compassionate way, in a way of sharing what you have inside you, your knowledge, a different way. Healers do that all the time, and you're there, like Ernesto said. Yeah,
You're placed in that position for a reason.
Oh, thank you. That's so very helpful. And I just started the workbook, and Kenneth's book, working through the workbook, and I'm on day 6. I'm doing the workbook every day, and I'm hoping those exercises help me to undo all this hatred and anger I have towards evilness, and so I can approach it with more of this love that you guys are talking about. That would be beautiful. If I want to get where you guys are at. Thank you for inspiring me.
Wonderful.
No, that we're also
Oh,
just know that we're all working towards that.
Yeah.
Believe me, we're all working towards that. I don't know how many of us are there. I don't know about that one, but
we wouldn't
definitely
be
it's a
here
work
if
in
we were
progress.
there.
Right. We wouldn't be here if we were there. Exactly. And just so you know,
Yeah, we can still be. It's not an
Yeah.
either or, it's both and. So, but I just wanted to pitch in and sort of say similar to what other people are saying, except that it's just a matter of what you're focusing on. So if you're focusing on the anger, it's depleting you, it's limiting you, because you're sending all that energy to something that you can't help. You can't change that other person who did what they did. But what you can do and what you are doing is helping the animal that had this thing done to it. And so you shift your focus to whatever it is that's at hand that you can do, and that gives you more energy. It's you see that animal, you're giving that animal love and hopefully helping it heal, whether it even physically heals, but you're helping it emotionally and whatever to feel more safe and more comfortable after such a heinous thing was done to it, rather than spending your energy being angry. And who does that help? That person who did that? You don't even know that, but what you're doing is sending all that anger out and even confusing the animal that you're trying to help. So when you remember that it's your love and your sense of peace that actually transforms the world, you can go back to that state. And in doing that, you can hopefully ripple that out, and somehow, somewhere that we don't even have to know about, it might touch someone who was on the verge of doing something like that, and they might feel love from someone else, and it might stop them, or they might receive the love from that animal, and it might stop them from doing something. We don't know that. We can just be the best, the most peaceful person, and therefore the most joy-filled and then loving person that we can be. And you do what's yours to do.
Yes. Yeah, you're in a position to be able to transform that. Exactly.
Good point. I don't think we have enough time to read the next section, but we do have a few more minutes for discussion if anybody has something they want to share.
Yeah, like the course is like really, like I was saying before, is like really from the perspective of like an angel. So imagine like if an angel was in the world, what would they be like? Like how would they interact with people? How would, like, what would their essence be like? You know, how do they see the world? Like the course is like really like giving us lessons of like how to program our mind to think like an angel. So it's very inspirational, and it's very like a high bar to put up, like to try to be like, but it's sort of like a role model to strive for, to like what we should be like, but it's not like a human being that the lessons are from. Totally not. Yeah.
I love that, Scott.
Yeah.
I've never heard it described like that before, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to share?
Well, the only thing I want to say is that you change your definition of who you are, in that what Scott said, to recognizing that we are all angels,
Yeah,
and belief that we are helpless, suffering human beings was the belief in separation. And once you know the difference and you're whole, we are all those things and greater. So yes, we're all angels.
I love that.
Thank you, angels.
Yes, thank you. That's really inspiring. There's such deep wisdom in this group from everybody. It feels quite healing. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for all of your comments today. I think it's so helpful when people share, because sometimes we share and we don't realize that we touch people who have the same questions or are going through something similar, especially people who are watching these replays, because the replays go out to the whole group too, who aren't necessarily able to be here on Monday at noon. So really appreciate all of you for showing up, being here, and doing the work with me. And as I had said before, I remember the first time I read this book, I thought, oh my gosh, I've got all the answers. That's great. I'm going to have such a great life. And I put it down and walked away from it, and whew, down went my life. So that is why I show up every week, and that is why I facilitate this course. And I am so thankful that you are all here with me. So thank you all. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. Happy
everybody.
New Year, everybody.
All right. We will see you next week.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye, bye.